told Noah, build me an ark, build it out of hickory bark. Noah said, now, where do I start? I said, love comes naturally.
It is great to be here. I always appreciate and I always love the opportunity to be able to just to talk about the course, to talk about it in the way of how it continues to impact my life and continue to help me to see things, differently. It's one of the beauty of, for me, of the Course of Miracles, and it's also it's amazing of how I realize that no matter what I am doing, the Course is part of me and it's in me, and so it's just it's just such a great thing to be able to be in that space now and to be able to recognize that aspect of it. And as usually, it's always important for me to turn it over to the Holy Spirit for guidance on what is it that the Spirit feels for me to share my thought, my experience regarding it. And the idea of the pursuit of happiness came to my mind. Usually I turn it over to the Spirit, but also a lot of times it hits me on our Thursday night class that Reverend Peter leads. And then when we have our discussions and reading, it's sort of like, oh, wow, that would be something fascinating to be able to talk about. But yet this time it actually, manifested in the way of this individual who appears to be homeless in my neighborhood. And so that's when the thought of the pursuit of happiness came up for me. And also remember when I was thinking about it, I had let Reverend Peter know that I'm going to be talking about the pursuit of happiness. And the first thing that he said, oh, wait a minute, wasn't that the Will Smith movie? Because Will Smith had a movie that was titled The Pursuit of Happiness. I'm like, well, yes, actually, that is one of the movies that Will Smith was part of. And I think it was like sometime in March of 2007 when it actually was released. And the interesting thing is it was supposed to be based on a true story of this individual who was in San Francisco, where the individual, where Will Smith character, wind up becoming homeless, and the whole concept of the pursuit of happiness, regarding that aspect of it, which is very interesting because, as I mentioned, one of the reasons why the pursuit of happiness came to mind had to do with an individual who appears to be homeless in my neighborhood, where I live here in San Francisco. And it's someone that, this is someone new, because I know I've talked about someone previously who used to also appear to homeless in our neighborhood. And now this is someone else. So it's very interesting how I continue to have these interactions with individuals in my neighborhood who appears to be homeless. And so we interact, with each other, quite a bit. I always say hi and, check in with them regarding an aspect of it. And then this one day, I think I was running late or something like that, and my mind was somewhere else, and I was really not, in the space or the mood to interact with anyone. It was just one of those days where you just want to just go and just like, okay, people don't say anything to me. I just need to leave. And so I was, walking, and I was going, towards my car. And this time he was in a different space than I normally see. Normally I see him right outside my door, but this time he was nearby where I parked my car at in the garage. And so he saw me, so we stopped, and then we just started, engaging and having this conversation. And the thing that came to my mind is that a lot of time our appearances is our biases or our thought is that when we see someone who's supposed to be homeless, in our minds we think that, wow, they must be having it rough, that they must be struggling, they must not be enjoying actually life. It's like these perceptions that I know I have in my mind sometimes when that happens regarding an aspect of it. But yet the interaction with this individual, it was not. I was able to experience their joy and their happiness of where they were at in that moment. And then they actually said something to me was of how much that they appreciated that I've always acknowledged them and always took the time that to be present, with them, and that they appreciate that I'm always smiling and that I always appear to be happy and all that stuff. And so it's just one of those moments, one of those connection that you least suspect, that happens. And then it made me realize, wow, I wonder if that's what part of happiness is about. It's about those moments, those little moments that we have with not only within ourselves, but with individuals, and to be able to see each other for who they really are. It's not about someone who appears to be homeless or anything like that. It's about this person being who they are and to being able to be present right there in that moment with them. And it just really, for me, lifted me up in that moment. And I have to tell you, I had a much better day that day, because of that interaction that started earlier, even though I wanted to be in this own space of mine. And I think Spirit was like, no reason for that. And to allow that interaction to be able to happen. And for me to be able to stay and just like, okay, I don't need to rush. It's okay to be in this moment with this individual. And that for me in that moment was part of where I felt the happiness happening in that moment. But then the course reminds us of this: the constancy of happiness has no exceptions, no change of any kind. It is unshakable, as is the love of God for his creation. What such a beautiful message. It just never ceased to amaze me, these incredible lines that the course presents to us, for us to be able just to reflect on it and to experience what it's supposed to be like for us in those moments. And for me, the thing that kept coming up for me was regarding this, reflecting on my time regarding Thanksgiving a week ago. Because as we are aware, at least for me, when I think about Thanksgiving, I think about it as an opportunity for me to remember of how grateful I am. And when I'm in a space of being grateful, guess what? I'm in a happy place. That is when happiness is happening. Because I'm able to appreciate and be grateful for the things that I have. And just to be able to realize, because of the Spirit and because of the course, I'm able to see and shift things differently in my mind. Because as we know, there will always be opportunities where our ego mind wants to come in and disrupt us. But yet, we as course students have the opportunity and the ability to be able to shift that when those things happen and when those things actually come up for us. It comes as surely unto those who see the final question is necessary to the rest, as peace must come to those who choose to heal and not to judge. So when I think and reflect on Thanksgiving last week, I have to be honest that my initial thoughts and feelings, I was not in a good space. I knew that I was going to be going over Reverend Tony and Reverend Peter's place, but yet, I wasn't feeling it that morning. Just something just was not sitting right with me. It was me feeling somewhat unease, some easiness, in me. But yet, the minute I got to Reverend Tony and Reverend Peter's place, it was amazing how that shifted. How just being in that present allowed me to experience just being happy in that moment. And once again, it's that connection with individuals, with people that's for me was creating that happiness and me realizing and recognize that, you know what? I'm not alone. I have these beautiful people around me. But it really hit when we went on our walk. Because one of the things about it is that we, of course, we have an incredible meal that Reverend Tony always make, but then we have the opportunity to go for a walk. And so there were several of us who decided to go on a walk. It was myself, Reverend Peter, Terry, Reverend Steve, and Reverend Tony's amazing sister, Sarah. And we, on this walk of the city, at that moment, when you're able to allow your minds to just sit and be clear, you are able to appreciate the beauty that exists. Not only in the city itself, because several times we stopped and just looked at the beauty of the city, but the interaction that we all was having. And for me, it was an opportunity for me to reconnect to my incredible good friend, Reverend Steve. We known each other for years, but yet because of the pandemic and a lot of things that's been going on, we have not really had a chance to really connect with one another. And that was an incredible, happy moment. And then also having the opportunity to connect to Sarah, Reverend Tony's sister, who I never interacted with before. And that is because we're allowing ourselves to be present in those moments and to appreciate the littlest things. We think when we think about happiness in my mind, we feel like we have to think about the big things or whatever is happening in our lives. No, it's those little small moments when we're able to take our time and really be present with those who we interact with. And that experience with those individuals on that walk, for me, created and just highlighted the joy, the happiness that I already had within me. And that is, for me, is one of the greatest things to keep in mind. And part of that quote that I just read, there is one particular part that really stood out for me. And that is the one said, for if what you desire, you receive, and happiness is constant. For if what you desire, you receive, and happiness is constant. And the thing that came to my mind regarding that aspect of it is one of the things that I've always desired, I've always wanted to do. I wanted to be a mentor for our younger Black African Americans individuals. It's something that I've always wanted to do, but really, didn't have the greatest opportunity to be able to do it, even though I'm involved with a lot of, different things, but I never had that opportunity to really have the time to be able to do that. One of my colleagues had sent a email, asking me and my other colleague is, if we can take on a intern. And so I saw the email. I'm like, oh, okay, I thought about it. And then of course that ego comes in and say, you don't have time. There's no way you're gonna be able to do this. And you're not gonna be good at it. It's just like all those thoughts comes to, those doubts comes to our mind. So I think like 3 weeks or a month passed that I totally, just didn't do it. And then one day, I don't know what it is or what it was, the spirit was like, Vincent, recheck your email. So I checked my email and then I was guided to respond to this individual. So I responded and let them know that, I'm interested in them possibly, being my intern. At the moment that we met on Zoom, this incredible energy just lit me up. I was so grateful that I was going to have the opportunity to be able to work with this young African American in the work that I do, and specifically around public health. because in my field, there's not a lot of Black African American people, and especially there's not a lot of Black males in our field. And to be able to be present and have the opportunity to do that has been remarkable. And the great thing about that, is just to see the appreciation and joy that he has been displaying since he's been interning with me. And seeing that joy in him and that happiness in him, it brings that to me. I'm experiencing that joy because he's experiencing it as well. It's something that I desired, something that I wanted as part of my happiness, as part of my path, and it manifested itself. And now I have the opportunity to work with this individual until May, to be able to be present with them and to help them and share my experience of the work that I'm doing in public health as a Black person, and how important to allow our voices to become present. What a wonderful gift. And to me, that is part of happiness, of being able to be there for others. That gives me joy. That is the path that I realize, that the course that the Spirit has set for me. The other thing that I realize that bring me happiness is now we have the opportunity of people to coming into the office and be able to have that connection with each other again is incredible. A reminder of how much that was missed and how grateful just to have that joy back in that space again. And then the course tells us this: you who complete God's will and are his happiness, whose will is powerful as his, a power that is not lost in your illusion. Think carefully why it should be you have not yet decided how you would answer the final question. Wow. How you would answer the final question. And for me, no, I have not answered the final question yet. I'm still working on trying to find out what that final question is. But what it is, though, when I think about it, and when I just reflect on what does it mean to be happy? What is happiness? What does it look like? Is it an ego thing? Is it a spirit thing? You know what it is? It's something that is already in each and every one of us. Every moment of our day, it's in us. And the thing is, are we willing to allow that to manifest itself on a daily basis? Are we able to allow ourselves, when we want to go into that mindset of doubt, of guilt, or whatever it is, to immediately shift that and to let it go, to release it, to get into that happy place of a peace of mind that each and every one of us, all of us, deserve. And it's a part of who we are. And we just forget sometimes. I know I do. But that's what it is. And for me, and I realize one of the important things for me when I think about happiness, it is the relationships that I have with others. Being present not only with myself, but with all the individuals and communities that I'm involved with. That's my joy. That's my happy place, because I'm able to show up of who I am, which allow them to show up of who they are. Just remember that each and every one of us have the happiness within ourselves. It's just up to us to have the strength and the willingness to be able to pursue that. Here is the great appeal to reason, the awareness of what is always there to see, the happiness that could be always yours. And that's my talk.
Venga aquí, yeah. God told Noah, build me an ark, build it out of hickory bark.